Ciao everyone and welcome back to a new episode of Learn Italian with Songs. Namely, today we are going to talk about Incoscienti giovani by Achille Lauro. This song was the song chosen by Achille Lauro to participate in the Sanremo Music Festival 2025. And I'll tell you more, it was also one of the favorites. Buonasera. In fact, many thought that Achille Lauro should have won. It was one of the best bet. But then a little bit like what happened with Georgia, this didn't really happen, and in fact this song ended up 7th place. However, the audience is sort of rewarding the ability as a performer, as an artist, more generally, of Achille Lauro. In fact, right now, when I'm recording this is in the top 5 of the most watched videos out of the choices, or better, competitors of Sanremo Music Festival 2025. So, as usual, let's start from the title, Incoscienti giovani. If I had to translate this literally, it should be reckless young people. You might find the translation of incoscienti as unconscious. It is not that wrong per se, because incoscienti and the English unconscious comes both from the same Latin etymology. The issue, though, this is a good example of this phenomenon, is that not all words with the same etymology in Italian and in English kept the same meaning. So, in other words, if in Italian a word has the same etymology of the English correspective, of the English part, it doesn't mean they have the same meaning. And this is a good example, because in fact, incosciente can mean unconscious. Incoscienti is plural. As I was saying, incosciente can mean unconscious. For example, un paziente incosciente means an unconscious patient, so someone who passed out, in other words. But in this case, Achille Lauro uses the other meaning of incosciente, which is reckless, as in without thinking, okay? But not without thinking because the person is passed out, without thinking because acting recklessly. So, I know you are going to find translation with incoscienti translated as unconscious, but in my opinion, reckless is better. Then let's talk about giovani. Giovani is an adjective, in this case used as a substantive. In Italian it is called, this phenomenon, aggettivo sostantivato, because it is like saying young implied people. And in this case, it can mean both females and males. So, that said, who are these reckless young people Achille Lauro is singing about? We have to make some premises. This song tells a story, is a ballad, and it is inspired by a true story because due to the background of Achille Lauro, he was able to encounter difficult situations experienced by young people. I can't really tell you the life story of Achille Lauro, but I'm sure you can find resources. If you struggle with it, you can ask me on Discord or in the comments, and I'll try my best to provide something about his life. In theory, you should find something on his Wikipedia page anyway. So, that said, thanks to his experience, he always inspires himself with true stories. This is one of the cases. So, the story we are going to find in the verses of this song are inspired by a true story. Then we have the setting that is also matched in the official video, because the story is set in the Roman suburbs. In fact, but not the nice ones, okay? I'm talking about shady alleys, suburbs. So, Achille Lauro is not from Rome. However, he lived there and he has a very strong connection with the capital. So he often sings about Rome, and this is one of the cases. The protagonist of the story is the tormented youth who finds salvation in something we can call love. Even better, something that many people call love, but it is something most desperate. It is more a hope of love. Because what we are going to find in the story is the description of unhealthy love, attachment, if you will. Even I am not a psychologist, but we could call it also codependency. We are going to see in a minute. And last but not least, as often happens, this song was not meant for the Sanremo stage. What do I mean? Usually, singers, since you have to present a new song for Sanremo stage, because songs presented during the Sanremo Music Festival are new, not released, nobody ever listened to them except the people working with it, okay? It has to be new. This means that usually singers prepare a song made exactly for that stage, for that audience, for that environment, if you will. Achille Lauro is a special person. He's a very eccentric artist. He is, as in, it is part of his personality being alternative, how can I say, non-mainstream. That's it. Achille Lauro wants to be non-mainstream. So usually he writes a song and at certain point he says, you know what? I'm going to present this to for the Sanremo Music Festival, but the song is clearly not meant for that audience, it's clearly not meant for the Eurovision. And in fact, usually Achille Lauro ends in very low positions. In fact, it is always funny to see the reactions of the fan base of Achille Lauro, because they really love Achille Lauro, but they also realize that the song he chose wasn't the best choice for that stage, and so like they die a bit inside every time. That said, as usual, I gather some things the artist said about the song, because usually we have a lot of interviews before the festival, so I managed to scrape something. Of course, as usual, I left the links of the main articles I read, at least the most interesting for me, in the resources. You find it in the description of the video. The first thing I found is as follow. Remember, I am translating from Italian. Usually in the interviews is not that easy. So, talking about the story of this ballad, it's the story of a girl who could be my daughter, my love, as in my partner, my mother, against the backdrop of Rome, so the setting, okay? The most reckless thing one could do, to love, or to give someone the opportunity to kill you and hope they don't. It's a song that harks back to the great songs we grew up with. It seems like an Italian classic from the 60s. And in fact, you can see and perceive this vibe, you can feel this vibe also in the video. And in fact, the video, if I remember correctly, is set in the Fontana di Trevi. I know there is the Fontana di Trevi, one of the most famous fountains in Rome, because during the festival I read an interview. A journalist asked Achille Lauro how was to make the video in the Fontana di Trevi, because he's with a woman and they are in the Fontana di Trevi. And he was like, it was cold because it was in December or something like that. It made me laugh. And then another thing that he said, because what I mentioned before was a collage of things he said, plus the commentary of the author of the article I quoted. Then I have a full-on quote from Achille Lauro. It wasn't meant for the stage, as I was saying. As always in my case, I appreciate the fact that Achille Lauro is very intellectually honest, and every time he's like, guys, don't put me in the Fanta Sanremo. Probably I'm going to suck, so don't worry. I wrote it 2 years ago, as had already happened with Rolls-Royce in the competition in 2019. I captured a state of mind, and it was as if that text had come to me at the precise moment. So, long story short, is a ballad set in Rome, and it tells the story of this youth who is in love but also very much in trouble, a very trouble-loved youth, if you will. That said, let's see these lyrics. We start with an intro. O bambina, o little girl, literally speaking, in this case, baby. In Italian now, in many songs, we have baby as in used for a person, often a woman, a young woman and whatnot, but generally speaking as a term to express affection, okay? In this case, baby. Quite curious the fact that he chose to pick the Italian equivalent, also because bambina is feminine. We have the distinction, because of course Italian has genders, between bambino, masculine, and bambina, feminine, probably because he wanted to start, because the start of the song is probably one of the most important bits, and probably he wanted to start making it clear that he was telling and talking to, he was telling the story of and talking to a young woman. Tutto quello che hai passato è un'università. All you have been through is a college or a university. I always have a bit of trouble translating this, mainly for my part of the audience coming from US, because while university in Italy can be closer to how university is structured in the European Union, at least, I guess my fellow continent other person from my same continent will understand better, because our universities are closer as a concept. Often university I can do it. Often università, literally university, it is translated to college, because college is the word mainly used in US. However, always keep in mind that the concept of a college and the concept of an Italian università are two very different concepts, okay? That's why I prefer to translate it as university. Not because I don't know that in US English is called college, but to highlight the fact that, conceptually speaking, the system is different, is very different. In this case, however, we're not talking about a college or a university, literally speaking, but here the artist is using it as a metaphor. So what he's saying is, you've been through a lot, and all these things you've been through taught you a lot. So I gave you a lot of experience, but not in a good way. To translate this for the meaning, I would say you've been through a lot. E tuo padre non tornava la sera. And your father didn't used to come back at night. Here we have an expression, non tornare la sera, which implies alla. Normally would be non tornare alla sera, di sera. Here it is used the more colloquial la sera, which means at night, because we are basically implying at, okay? L'hai visto solo di schiena. You saw him only from behind. From behind and di schiena are two expressions that don't match exactly between Italian and English, because schiena is literally your back, okay? So if we wanted to give a more literal translation, would be, you only saw him from his back. Lui non sa cosa è stare insieme. He doesn't know what it means to be together. Here, however, literally it is cosa è, what is. Poetic style choice, but literally it is cosa è. Not because in Italian we cannot say what it means, because we can say it. It would be, lui non sa cosa significhi stare insieme. Here it is more style choice, okay, for the poetry of the lyrics. That said, we have in this intro the set of the scene. A young woman, probably, or even a grown woman, who went through a lot in her life, probably because she doesn't come from an ideal familiar situation. Specifically, we are talking about a situation where the father is far away, probably physically, maybe due to work, but also and mainly sentimentally. And we are sure about this because of the last line. He doesn't know what it means to be together, to love. So we have the description of a problem, a very much real problem, which is the generation of my parents and before, where men didn't know how to deal with their feelings. It is sadly a theme even today due to toxic masculinity, because males, since they are born, they are incentivized to repress their feelings. So what happens is that we often have adult men who don't know how to deal with their feelings. They don't know how to manage them, to communicate them, and this is a big issue. Because when you have a father like this, you do not learn how to handle this situation. And the worst part is that you often think that's normal. So it often happens that women who grew with this type of father figure will look for men with the same characteristics, because for them is normal. This is not the first time Achille Lauro talks about a consequence of toxic masculinity, because he's very much against it, for example. And due to this problem, these women have serious issues in relationships because they are used about the fact that men act like this, and they think that whatever happens, it's their fault. So they have to deal with the whole of the emotional part in the relationship. In a healthy relationship, each partner, no matter the genders, should be able to deal with their own feelings. However, due to toxic masculinity, many men don't know how to do it, and for eventually even their whole life, nobody teaches them. And that's a problem that presents itself also in relationship. Then we have the first verse. No, lo so, gli vuoi bene. No, I know you love him. Now, we have the continuation. So, the love you have for a parent, even if the parent is absent, soul, mind, and body, but you still love them because in the end, they are not bad people. They just have human flaws. Also, linguistically speaking, in Italian we have a difference concerning the verb love. In Italian we have ti amo, I love you, and ti voglio bene, which in English we are forced to translate as I love you nonetheless. However, ti amo is the actual I love you, something stronger as a feeling. Ti voglio bene, generally voler bene, literally translates as to want something good for someone else, to wish someone good things. okay? To want the good, the best for someone. So it is more general, less strong than ti amo, and you can tell it to friends, family members, I don't know. It is softer, it is chiller. Okay, so if you don't want to risk to come out too serious with I love you, so with ti amo, you can just say ti voglio bene. L'amore è come una pioggia sopra Villa Borghese. Love is like a rain on Villa Borghese. Now, what is Villa Borghese? Villa Borghese is a landscape garden in Rome containing a number of buildings, museums, and attractions. Also, it is a movie whose title was translated in English as It Happened in the Park. Both because of the movie and because of what generally this place represents, it is meant as a symbol of romance, but the classic romance, the one we see in the movies, ok? E noi stiamo annegando, and we are drowning, naufragando, shipwrecking, because too much water, because of the rain, è un romanzo, it's a novel. Sono solo a fare a botte con gli amici miei. I am alone having a fight with my friends. Now, fare a botte is an expression, an idiom we talk about in other occasions. It literally translates as to make, to do with hits, like, because fare is to do, to make. Le botte are the hits you give someone, as in to hurt them. That's why I'm saying having a fight. It is hard to translate because in Italian there is not a direct translation of having a fight. And in English, there is not a direct translation of fare a botte. So these two idioms are corresponding, ok? Sto strisciando verso il letto e non ci sei. I'm crawling towards the bed and you are not there. So in this first verse, we have described this conflictual relationship, not good, with the father of our female protagonist. We have a love that is romanticized, but that has a sad nuance, okay, a dramatic nuance. And our love is so problematic, we are drowning and shipwrecking in it. It is almost surreal, like in a novel. And then we have another hint to the issues of the relationship, because we have a man who's fighting with his friends, like they are beating each other. And the image of this man, this young adult, crawling towards the bed, probably with wounds or bruises. So crawling in this pitiful state in the bed, and the woman is not there, because 1,000 reasons you can interpret this image as you prefer. The idea is always the same. This relationship is problematic, and it is almost like in a dramatic novel, in a drama movie, okay? And then we have the beautiful chorus. I really like this song, by the way. You didn't understand it? Amore mio, veramente, my love truly. Se non mi ami, muoio giovane. If you don't love me, I die young. Where loving is a little bit like saving someone. So if you don't love me, and thus you do not save me with your love, I die young. Because I am not the healthiest person in the world. Ti chiamerò da un autogrill. I'll call you from a service station. Tra 100 vite o giù di lì. In 100 lifetimes or so. Which is a very poetic way to say, I will never call you back. Because our relationship is very problematic. Autogrill. What is this weird Italian word? Well, it is actually the name of a very popular brand in Italy. So, what is Autogrill? Autogrill is an Autogrill is an Italian multinational company that operates in the sector of catering services for travelers. It became so popular that we Italian say autogrill instead of area di servizio, service station. This phenomenon is called genericization or generic trade. I can't speak today. Or generic trademark. It happens when a brand name becomes so popular that people start using it as the generic term, in this case area di servizio, service station, for a whole category of products or services. So, to put into perspective, we have this company that build a lot of service stations, and it became so popular that we identify the service station with the autogrill, so we call them like that. Di amore muori veramente. Of love you really die. Se non ti amo, fallo tu per me. And I love these two verses. If I don't love you, you do it for me. As in, if I don't love you, and this might create a very unhealthy relationship that might lead you to your death. Love yourself in my stead, because you deserve it. Ti cercherò in un vecchio film. I look for you in an old movie. So basically we know that everyone in the story understood that the relationship has no future. But this verse also gives the same vibe, sets the vibe set also by the video. So, an old movie. Per sempre noi, incoscienti giovani. Forever we, reckless young people. Incoscienti giovani. Reckless young people, which gives the title to the song. Then we have the second verse. Again, O bambina, O little girl or baby. Dormivamo in un Peugeot. We slept in a Peugeot. What's a Peugeot? It's a car. The question of the question now is, as you know, Italian like the other Neo-Latin languages and many other languages, has genders. And we have genders for everything, cars included. So we have this problem. When we use the brand to identify a car, like in this case, is it male or female? Because the idea could be, do we use the same gender of car, which in Italian is macchina or vettura or automobile? So feminine, because una macchina, una vettura, un'automobile. Or do we use the masculine? Because when we don't know generally what gender assign to something, we assign the masculine, because according to a linguistic theory, back in the days at the origin of the language, we had only one gender, and then we had a separation of genders. So what used to be the neutral gender, which was the masculine, had a double that became the feminine, and so it wasn't neuter anymore. So do we use the masculine because we want to be generic, because usually when in doubt it is masculine, or do we use the gender of the implied noun, in this case macchina, vettura, automobile? Both are correct. You can say un Peugeot, you can say una Peugeot. Statistically speaking, we keep feminine because, as I said, automobile, macchina, vettura are all feminine. So you can often hear una Peugeot, una BMW, una Ferrari, una Lamborghini, because we use the feminine. However, since the masculine is also correct, if it sounds and it is easier for you, you can use it too. Yeah, I understand that it can be it can be disorienting, but yeah, it is common in I don't know, maybe in other Neo-Latin Latin languages you don't have these issues, but in Italian we talk about cars a lot, so there's also the question, but if we mention a car by its brand name, is it masculine or feminine? The answer is both, whatever works for you. I thought about it while reading this, and I thought it would have been interesting talking about this, because while reading this I was saying, un Peugeot? No, una Peugeot. It is feminine. And so, like, I thought, yeah, because I say una Ferrari, una Lamborghini, so it is feminine. I went to check, there was a discussion, an article about this by Accademia della Crusca. Again, if you need it, I can link it in the comments or on Discord, just ask. And I checked, and while generally speaking, because there are some exceptions, but generally speaking, even the brand of cars are, for those we use the feminine. However, the masculine is used too. It is just a matter of percentage. They are both used. The feminine is generally used a little bit more, but it doesn't matter that much. But I thought could have been interesting. Sì, noi due ladri di fiori. Yes, we two flower thieves. E ti ricordi o no? And do you remember or not? Noi prima, as before, a dirsi mai una vita come i tuoi. To say, between each other, Never a life like your parents. Sì, piuttosto disperati come noi. Yes, rather desperate like us. Two notes. I tuoi, i miei, i suoi. In Italian, you can use the possessive pronouns to indicate parents, to imply parents. How do you recognize this use from the context? For example, if I say stasera vado a mangiare dai miei, tonight I go to eat at mine's, it means tonight I'm going to eat at my parents' house. We have two cars, we have to choose what to use. In one car, we have the parents of my fiance, in the other ones, we have our parents. In this case, I can say andiamo con i miei o con i tuoi? Do we go with mine's or yours? So, I understand that this might sound unusual, but in certain context, i miei, mine, i tuoi, yours, i suoi, hers, his, and so on, can be used to imply parents. The other note is piuttosto. Now, I need to take a moment for this because it is an actual issue. If you are part of an Italian community on social media, like, I don't know, you follow Threads Italia, you watch TikToks in Italian, you read threads in Italian, I don't know. You participate somehow in Italian communities, you have to be very careful because I legit read and heard certain influencers saying, oh, trust the Italians because by nature they know the rules of their language. No, lies and slander. No, that is not true. Italian, it is a very complex language, and just like with every other language, everyone makes mistakes. There is always, specifically in Italy, a discussion because people complain about the fact that the average Italian has very poor knowledge of Italian itself. I have to say, being a tutor and reading Italian posts on social media, there are certain mistakes. I like to say orrori because in Italian to say mistake you say errori. I prefer saying orrori, which is horrors, because the play on words works better. Because I am reading things that, oh my god. First of all, friendly reminder, always check from multiple sources what you study about any language, because people are people. We make mistakes. I can make mistakes. Any influencer, creator can make mistakes. It is a very complex language, Italian. It is easy to make mistakes, get confused, also because we can be tired, we can confuse ourselves and whatnot. We are simply human beings. So always double check. Even for books, there you might find concepts not explained properly. Always double check. In this case, I made this whole premise because piuttosto is one of the most misused adverbs in the Italian language. What does piuttosto mean? Rather. Simple as piuttosto means rather. And in fact, Achille Lauro, who is not only a great person but also a poet, personally speaking, says a dirsi mai una vita come i tuoi, sì piuttosto disperati come noi. So what are the two lovers saying between each other? Never a life like your parents, rather desperate like us. Better desperate than like your parents. This is the idea, which also communicate the conflict, the generational conflict, right? Now, why am I doing these stressing, highlighting neon signs about this adverb? Because I swear to God, nowadays, many Italians use piuttosto as a synonym of or. Don't do this, please. Don't do this to my heart. Piuttosto means rather. Don't trust those who tell you otherwise. Ho finito la mia filippica. Now, let's go back to the chorus. Amore mio veramente, my love truly. Se non mi ami, muoio giovane. If you don't love me, I die young. Ti chiamerò da un autogrill, I'll call you from a service station, tra 100 vite o giù di lì, in 100 lifetimes or so. Di amore muori veramente, of love you really die. Se non ti amo, fallo tu per me. If I don't love you, you do it for me. Ti cercherò in un vecchio film. I look for you in an old movie. Per sempre noi, incoscienti giovani. Forever we, reckless young people. And I swear to God, the chorus for me is poetry. I love it. I also love the music. And I have to do a coming out about this. I don't like the voice of Achille Lauro. Like, I don't think Achille Lauro has a very specific melodic voice, but the songs and the music are written so well that I love it nonetheless. No, please, don't trust those people saying, oh, don't worry about making mistakes, because also the native speakers, like, no, guys, if you are, I am like very convinced about it, because also while I was learning other languages, because my first language and native language is Italian, but I also speak English and French. And I'm also learning at this point, since I had to learn also Romanian, at this point I'm doing all the neo-Latin languages and I'm doing also Spanish and Portuguese. But when I study a language, I want to study the correct one, okay? If I start by learning wrong things, it is a very bad start. So the idea is, if you make mistakes, who cares? The important thing is to understand each other. But do not trust those saying, oh yeah, if you do these mistakes and if you do these things, you'll sound more as a native. No. To all of us who can speak properly Italian, you're just going to sound wrong. Also because I have to full disclosure on this thing. In Italy, there is a debate going on since the start of time, the beginning of time, because there is a whole portion of Italians being also quite aggressive, because, for example, I try to tell you guys, this is a mistake, don't do this, it's that, not this, and so on and so on. But if you make mistakes, who cares? As long as I understand you, I don't care. But be careful, mainly when you write on social media, because there is a whole army of Italians going under each and every post writing, oh, actually, you are so ignorant. It's not written like this. It's written like that. So, un po' pesante, but there are many. Some of them also get quite aggressive. Don't worry, just block them. Friendly advice. But yeah, there is a whole portion of Italians thinking that you are very ignorant and not very respectable if you cannot speak Italian properly. Of course, if Italian is not your native language, it is more like whatever. But I can tell you, we have these two factions. The faction of, oh, even if I can speak properly my own language, I'm fine with it because anyway we understand each other. And then you have the opposite faction saying, no, you are the shame of this culture. You are the shame of this language. Shame on you and on your cow. So, duality of people. I just wanted to go full disclosure on it. And like I read certain posts from people learning Italian saying, oh, but why do I have to learn a subjunctive if not even Italians use it? No, sweetie, we use it. It's just that some of us that are very vocal on social media do not, but it is not an excuse. They are wrong and so you are. Just to say, like, making mistakes because you are learning is something. Making mistakes because you feel so entitled, you don't think you should learn the language properly is a problem. So, thanks for coming to my tech talk. It said, yeah, subjunctive mention. I perfectly understand that the subjunctive is a problem. It's very difficult. Like, really, I do understand that the subjunctive is complex. It is, in fact, true that not using or misusing the subjunctive and condizionale, I don't remember how it's called in English, but misusing these two mood tenses, it is very common. However, they have a very specific function, and if you use them properly, you'll get an upgrade also in communication, because if you are speaking with someone who knows well Italian, like myself, and you use on purpose certain tenses and moods, I will better understand your communication, because these moods and tenses have very specific functions. But it is also for you, because if you read books, well-written books, very important thing to underline, but if you read well-written books, there are nuances that if you don't know all the moods and tenses of Italian, you won't catch. And like, if you are learning a new language, the ideal thing is to learn it in a correct way. So you don't have to struggle, you lose nuances, because the beauty of a language is to understand the nuances, because to understand the rough meaning of something, we have the AI nowadays. So what truly learn a language should mean is to understand the nuances, okay? So you can also understand better. Of course, you are going to make mistakes. Don't worry. We native speakers make mistakes as well. We sometimes don't even care about using correct formulas because we also have like all the languages, colloquial and familiar register. But generally speaking, it is better to learn a new language as correct as possible. Let's put it like that. Anyway, after this filippica on learn Italian good, let's go back to the song, and we have what I called three bridges, one after the other. Maybe it's a post-chorus. I don't know. I'm not a musician. This, as far as I know, could be as much as a bridge as a post-chorus. Ask to a musician for more infos. Don't quote me on that. That said, we have another section. Maledetti giovani a fumare in quel bar. Damned, in a way, in a meaning like cursed, young people smoking in that bar, in that cafe. Noi che a pezzi giovani, noi due pieni di guai. We who are young people in pieces, like emotionally speaking, life speaking, as too full of troubles. Maledetti noi incoscienti a dirsi ancora. Damned we reckless people to still saying, telling to each other. And then we have the connection with the section after. Here I specified about maledetti because it's damned, but in a cursed way. Okay, so as condemned to the type of life and suffering. Like the vibe is pretty much, I don't know how is it translated in English, but le fleurs du mal. To put it into perspective, that is pretty much the vibe, in my humble opinion. Fammi una carezza, amore mio. Caress me, my love. In this case, I highlighted this part because, literally speaking, we have the verb to caress, which is accarezzare, which can also mean to pet when referred to animals, because you caress a person and you pet an animal. In Italian accarezzi tutte e due. But in this case is more do me a caress, okay? Probably because of the rhythm needed due to the music. And yeah, pretty much I guess that was why. Ma che mi faccia male, but let it hurt me. Literally speaking, but that will hurt me. Even more literally, will do to me bad. Okay, will cause pain to me. So you have here the dichotomy between the caress, which is something gentle, light, soft, an expression of affection and love, and the pain, okay? Mezza sigaretta e dopo addio. Half a cigarette and then goodbye. How dramatic is this thing, this image? Like, I don't know, this verse has all the drama, gives me all the drama of the situation. per noi incoscienti e giovani, for us reckless and young people. As usual, as I explained at the beginning, incoscienti and giovani are aggettivi sostantivati, so adjectives used as nouns. Then we have one last section connecting to the outro. Noi due orfanelli alla roulette. We two little orphans at the roulette. Siamo a Las Vegas sotto un LED. We are in Las Vegas under a LED. Yeah, a lot of drama juice here. Here we have a very strong image. Gambling mentioned. Could be because it wants to paint, to picture a very specific image. It could be because the gambling, the whole casino setting gives even more drama. It communicates the desperation of the situation because, of course, you know, casino is not the best, or like usually children are not allowed in there. Also, it is not a place for orphans, which is implied do not have money or anything, right? And also another note, orfanelli, it is a so-called vezzeggiativo. Here we have orfani, which is the root, the noun acting as the root, and then we have a suffix. As I explained in other circumstances, in Italian we can use suffixes to modify, to tweak the meaning of a word. In this case, orfanelli is different from orfani because orfani, simple, means orphans. If we add the suffix ello, elli, masculine, singular and plural, ella, elle, feminine, singular and plural, we are giving the idea, we are communicating the idea of something little and cute, okay? So in this case, I would translate orfanelli like little orphans. And then finally we have the outro, which is a quote of other parts of the song, mainly the chorus. Amore mio, veramente, my love, truly, se non mi ami, muoio giovane. If you do not love me, I die young. Ti chiamerò da un autogrill. I'll call you from a service station. Per sempre noi, incoscienti giovani. Forever we, reckless young people. Incoscienti giovani. Reckless young people. And that was the lyrics, the analysis of the lyrics of Incoscienti giovani by Achille Lauro. Now, let me grab my beautiful oh, gossip, guys, the gossip. Now, you have to know that besides the whole thing that I explained about the fact that the fan base of Achille Lauro, every time he wants to participate in the Sanremo Music Festival, are desperate before even starting because they know the song will be good, but not as good as it should be because it's not meant for the stage. despite the whole desperation of this man fan base, I want to talk about the other gossip and why I love Achille Lauro so much. Now, beside the whole thing that the song was like the press, the radio were like, oh my god, he's gonna win, and then like 7th place. There was another gossip. In other instances, talking about Sanremo Music Festival 2025, we also talked about the drama with Fedez and Tony F. What happened? Just friendly reminder. So, Fedez was married with Chiara Ferragni, a very famous influencer, beauty influencer, if you will, from Italy. She was in fact married with Fedez. They capitalized a lot on their relationship, on their kids. They were loved and hate, nothing in the middle, like very gossipy situation. You know, one of those couples making a fortune out of their couple problems, their family, like not my favorite if I have to say, but this summer, the couple had a serious crisis. They broke up despite having 2 kids, despite like building the brand over this relationship, because she went through some legal issues, because she was considered a scammer. She was condemned because of, I don't remember exactly the charges, but basically because of a scam. And in the moment when she needed the husband the most, he left. And then after that, everyone was hating them. And then interviews came out, and apparently he was cheating on her for the whole marriage that lasted like 10 years or so. Again, learn Italian with gossip. I'm sure that if you type Fedez and Chiara Ferragni, you can find a lot of information about it. And then last summer in 2024, there was a whole dissing, because technically Fedez and Tony F are rappers. And so they dissed each other, because the vibe was pretty much like Tony F telling Fedez, your ex-wife is coming to me, and in fact, like you can go and check. The song is called Chiara. If you go on the YouTube channel of Tony F, should be one of his most watched songs. And so, things happening. And when we saw that Tony F and Fedez were at the Eurovision, ciao, at the Sanremo Music Festival, everyone was like, oh my god, the drama, they are going to beat each other behind the backstage and whatnot. But why am I telling this concerning Achille Lauro if I only mention Tony F and Fedez? Because right before the beginning of the Sanremo Music Festival 2025, Fedez decided to be interviewed or something by a famous gossip journalist, you know, like he's a paparazzo, I guess. Like, he's one of the most famous and gossipy paparazzi in Italy, Fabrizio Corona. And apparently Fedez told him certain things. Fedez didn't actually wanted for these things to be revealed to the big audience. Of course, Fedez, you are very trustworthy, of course. And among the informations Corona stole from Fedez, there was also a portion where Achille Lauro was accused to have had in the past, during the marriage, a relationship with Chiara Ferragni. And of course, everyone was like, during the interviews, like, oh my God, Achille Lauro, is it true? Is it true Chiara cheated with you on Fedez? Oh my God, spill the tea, tell us everything. Now, I respect Achille Lauro because he's an artist. Pretty much he cares about, above everything, his songs, his writing, his art, generally speaking. And at certain point, in one of these interviews, he basically said, I don't care. I leave this type of topics to those people who only have that. And ladies and gentlemen, we can all put down our hats because Achille Lauro proved himself once again a gentleman. Because imagine everyone like, yeah, I'm going to make money out of this. Like, I am 99% sure that Fedez would have ended in the top 5 without the whole drama going on the back. And seeing everyone discussing about it, Fedez trying to drag people in the drama, because some people, rightfully in my opinion, also mentioned that, incredibly so, nobody ever talked about this matter, but right before Sanremo Music Festival, considering that Achille Lauro was one of the best bets, okay, one of the favorites, magically Fedez dragged him in the drama. And he said, I'm going to let these to the people who only have that. Implied, because I am a professional and I have my music to talk about and think about, and a mic drop would have been top of the top in that situation, if you ask me, but he's too classy even to do that, so... Che gli vuoi dire a quest'uomo? Che gli vuoi dire? Niente, gli dici che è bravo. And so this was pretty much everything that I had to say about Incoscienti giovani. What else? Good song. I really liked it. I knew we wouldn't there was no hope for this to be in top 5. I'll be honest, because when I watched the first night, I said, Achille, I love you, but I know you won't be in top 5. Let's be honest about it. However, as usual, the audience is rewarding the good job done. That said, remember to let me know in the comments what you think about this song, if you need articles, videos, resources or anything. That said, grazie everyone for watching and arrivederci.